Any senator who votes to confirm Todd Blanche should know you're now part of the cover-up. You're complicit in the cover-up if you vote to confirm this man and make him the Attorney General who has led the cover-up of the Epstein file.
Hi again, everybody. It's now 5 o'clock in the East. The botched handling of the release of the Epstein files by Donald Trump and his administration and the lack of any accountability for survivors and victims will no doubt be a prominent focus on the part of Democrats at tomorrow's confirmation hearing for Todd Blanche to become the country's Attorney General. Todd Blanche, who was the Deputy Attorney General at the time, was key to the release of the files. It was riddled with redaction errors and delays. Blanche's predecessor, Pam Bondi, told lawmakers behind closed doors that Todd Blanche was the guy responsible for the rollout of the files. And thanks to intrepid reporting by New York Times reporters Jonathan Swan and Maggie Haberman for their new book, Regime Change, we have an even deeper understanding of the sprawling tentacles of Todd Blanche's role. According to many scenes recounted for their book, the man who now wants to serve as the country's top law enforcement official was at the center of each and every step of the Trump administration's botched release of the files. He was present for multiple meetings inside the White House Situation Room on this issue specifically. He reviewed the files. He spoke to Donald Trump about what was inside them. And of course, he volunteered to interview Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice in child sex trafficking, Ghislaine Maxwell. After that interview, she was transferred to a minimum security prison with yoga and puppies. Senate Judiciary Democrats will have Danny Bensky, an Epstein survivor and familiar face to viewers of this program, testify against Todd Blanche's confirmation on Thursday, following his appearance before the committee tomorrow. Bringing Bensky to the Hill signifies just how much Democrats intend to focus on the handling of the Epstein files in their questioning of Todd Blanche. Other Epstein survivors are weighing in as well, several sending a powerful message in this video from an organization that works to combat human trafficking. Take a look.
My name was released.
My phone number was released.
Where I went to school.
Where I live.
My students can now search me and read about my abuse.
I am an Epstein survivor.
I am an Epstein survivor.
I am an Epstein survivor. We were exposed.
Nude pictures of victims were released.
Our family's safety was put at risk.
Now, Todd Blanche wants to be the Attorney General of the United States.
Todd Blanche had a duty to protect us.
Instead, he protected the people who committed crimes against us. 30 years.
1,200 victims.
And 6 million files.
A mountain of evidence.
But Todd Blanche says there are no investigative leads.
Todd Blanche failed us.
He failed victims everywhere.
We deserve better.
Our country deserves better.
Vote no on Todd Blanche for Attorney General.
Vote no.
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 No. Vote no on Todd Blanche for Attorney General.
A closer look at Todd Blanche's role in the Epstein files is where we begin the hour with New York Times White House correspondent Jonathan Swan, co-author of the bombshell book that changed everything we thought we knew about Trump's second term, Regime Change. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Nicole.
So you've been covering Republican politics for a long time. I used to work in Republican politics a long time ago. And the idea that a group like World Without Exploitation, a child sex trafficking global conglomerate coming out against a Republican nominee for Attorney General is unimaginable, especially since this MAGA version of Trump's Republican Party has taken on this issue and run with it for a decade. What sorts of cross pressures exist inside the MAGA coalition, if not inside Republicans on Capitol Hill against Todd Blanche?
Well, it's changed a little bit because I think that there's not so much pressure from the MAGA base anymore on Todd Blanche specifically. They're I think, very dissatisfied with the way that Trump has handled Epstein. But, you know, the reporting itself makes very clear that we've done in the book that Todd Blanche was at the center of all things Epstein related in this administration. And I think from the outside, if you were just watching this, you might think, oh, he was, you know, at the Justice Department handling the mandatory release of the files. But what we show in the book is that his role went much deeper than that. He was inside the White House Situation Room with Trump's top political advisors, having conversations that essentially amounted to public relations conversations political conversations about how to manage the Epstein material in a way that would be least damaging to Donald Trump. And the thing to really know about Trump and Todd Blanche is Trump still views Todd Blanche as his attorney. He was his personal attorney. And Trump wanted someone like that at the Justice Department. Of course, he had someone like that with Pam Bondi, who was also his personal attorney on the impeachment, but she wasn't doing the job as Trump described it. We asked, Maggie and I, when we sat down with the president, we asked him what he was dissatisfied with when it came to Pam Bondi. And he said something to the effect of, she needs to move faster. And we said, faster at what? And he said, with respect to things. He wouldn't go further than that, but we know very well that what he was dissatisfied was that she was not prosecuting his enemies quickly enough. Todd Blanche is someone that Trump clearly trusts on that front, clearly trusted to handle Epstein in a way that would not damage Trump. And Blanche was indistinguishable from the senior levels of the White House in that effort to manage the Epstein files.
You know, I remember when Mitch McConnell sat down at the Morning Joe table, 9 years ago and was asked about his endorsement of Donald Trump in the context of the Access Hollywood tape. He had this folded up list of judges, federal judges, that he'd been promised would be appointed if Trump won. And that was his entire rationale for throwing him behind, grab him in the you-know-what, and everything else that came with Trump's 2016 campaign. The judges who have rebuked Todd Blanche include Trump-appointed justices. And I want to read a passage of how Todd Blanche was perfectly comfortable threatening them, menacing judges, and two Supreme Court justices are on Capitol Hill today looking for money to protect themselves. He makes clear in your reporting that he doesn't have any qualms with threatening federal judges. I'll read it. As the president's former defense attorney, Todd Blanche had a unique vantage point in the discussion. He was better equipped than anyone else in the room to weigh the ideas being discussed against Trump's personal and political interests. Todd Blanche laid out what he saw as their best options. Option one, petition federal district courts in Florida and New York to unseal grand jury testimonies, the secret transcripts of prosecutors' presentation of witnesses and evidence in their efforts to obtain indictments in past Epstein-related cases. You guys go on to report that that's unlikely to happen. But here's option two, to have Justice Department lawyers question Maxwell and publicly release the transcript, a twist on the idea proposed earlier by Vance. In talking about why option one is unlikely, you guys report this, quote, if the courts refuse to unseal those grand jury transcripts, as Blanche predicted, they could shift the blame for withholding the Epstein material away from the Trump administration and on to the judges. I know it's quaint and precious to suggest that someone who is comfortable putting federal judges in the middle of their own botched handling of Epstein material on a pedestal is something that people should still care about. But if you couple that with all of the judicial rebukes from Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a judge saying that Todd Blanche reverse engineered that, looking for a crime to fit a person they targeted, from the judges who have rebuked all of the illegally appointed U.S. attorneys, Todd Blanche seems to be walking into the job at odds with every federal judge that has touched a Trump case.
Well, and he's working for a president who has attacked judges in very personal ways, including their families. And, remember that during the Manhattan trial. So that is very much the atmosphere within Trump's inner circle. Stephen Miller and President Trump wanted the Republican Party to go further, to start impeaching judges. I mean, one episode that's sort of been forgotten, they were going to fund, Elon Musk was looking at funding campaigns to impeach judges. So, there's certainly no pushback from the previous leadership of the DOJ. But what's interesting about the Blanche nomination process is with Pam Bondi, it was somewhat theoretical. We knew that Trump intended to obliterate the line between the White House and the DOJ. He'd said as much on the campaign, that he wanted his own, retribution and someone in there who would essentially do his bidding. But we've now seen that Todd Blanche is willing to be that person. He's shown in many different respects across the board that he's willing to be that person. And Trump trusts him, evidently. I mean, it was very striking to Maggie and I when we sat with President Trump just how effusive he was about Todd Blanche compared to Pam Bondi. He was quite negative about Pam Bondi, this is in March, and very effusive about Todd Blanche. So Trump clearly trusts him to do the job as Donald Trump conceives of it. And everyone in Congress has seen the results of the last 18 months. So this will essentially be an on-the-record vote for Congress formalizing the new relationship between the Justice Department and the White House, completely different from what we've seen in the post-Watergate era.